Hello and welcome. Well, this is going to be the first part of the series we're going to do. This will be quite a long project, a restore of a 70 Mustang coupe, which I'm actually preparing for my wife. I've got my baby, but yeah, just started. Just finally got it in the garage, got the hood off, and going to be going through this step by step. Every aspect of this car is going to be restored. It's going to somewhat look like a Boss 302 clone, even though it's a coupe. I understand that. It's not for selling, it's for owning. First thing I had to do was vacuum all the leaves off of it. This car is going to need a little more work than my other restore did. The original engine is coming out of this completely, and transmission. I've got a 302 board over coming, short block, which I will be using aluminum heads, high-rise manifold, all kinds of good stuff. But, you know, first things first is to get this thing disassembled. Where this one's going to be more challenging than my 66 is this one's going to need some metal work. It'll need 2 partial rear quarters, maybe part of an outer tub on both sides, because I do have rust there. The interior will be completely gutted, although the interior is not too bad in terms of the dash, but yeah, there's going to be some customizing here, the doors. I need floor pans too in the front. So, but other than that, she's a pretty solid car. You know, everything's there, everything's original. You know, it's a shame I'm going to have to redo these quarters. At least partial, but I'm going to try and keep them below the body line there so that I maintain that uniformity. Last summer I had started taking her down to bare metal, and then, you know, the reason you see the flash rust there is I had coated it with Eastwood's Fast Etch, which really, considering this thing was outside, could have rusted really bad, but it didn't. So I'll just go over it again with the Fast Etch and get all of this off. And now that it'll be indoors, I won't have that problem again. But again, let's look inside. It's got the high back buckets. They're wrapped up in here in these bags. I'll take them out. It's a C4 automatic. But yeah, she's going to get some nice custom work. Excuse the mess. Been trying to clean, but yeah, I will post progress videos. First thing I'm going to do is get this off these wheel rollers, and I have special wood blocks that I've built that I jack it up. I can keep it on the wheels and get easy access under the car and not fear about being on jack stands. Not that there's anything wrong with jack stands, but, you know, it just gives me peace of mind. Jack stands are better for when I have the tires off and I'm doing suspension work. But laying under the car, let's say doing the underbody and everything like that, I feel much more comfortable on the wood blocks. All right. Okay, as we continue with part 1, you see the car is up on my safety blocks. Makes it very easy to work under the car, lots of room. So what I'm going to be doing now is first of all draining if there's anything in the radiator. I have a special container for that, and then I'll be working on the front backwards and top down, meaning I'll be getting the grill off, the bumper, the headlight buckets, you know, all that kind of stuff, the horns, and then working on disconnecting everything I need up top in the efforts to be ready to pull the engine and transmission. When I get to the point where I'm going to pull the drive shaft, I'll show you guys, and I'll show you guys, you know, some things about pulling this. What's really key here is remembering the order of the belts and the pulleys and such, so that when I put it on the new engine, everything gets put in the proper place in the proper directions. It's a little more complex. You've got the lower belt, which goes on for the power steering, and you've got the alternator belt and all kinds of things. So yeah, we'll get there. Top of this is a mess. Disconnecting the transmission kickdown cable and the throttle cable getting the wires off, all kinds of things. So I've already disconnected parts of the AC system. There was nothing in it, so it was not like I had to worry about it draining. All right, we'll step up to the next section. Well, progress made. Most of the fascia is off. The headlights and the buckets for them and the trim. Not as easy as you would think. What's going to be interesting is figuring out how those front pieces come off, and to getting to the bolts for the bumper, which is interesting. I'm going to have to figure that out. But every day a little progress, and the radiator's drained, everything's cooking along. I got my books there. We'll get there. So I got most of the nose off. I'm going to take the bumper off and the eyebrows. Moving the 66 to the front garage, get it out of the way. I'm going to need more room. Yeah, it's going to be challenging getting this sucker out, disconnected, but done it before. It's a little cold here. Okay, progress made. As you can see, the bumper is off. We had to take it off the frame because it just rotted by the bolts for, you know, where it attaches. Even one of the braces just came right off, so that's not great. The drive shaft is out. That was pretty easy to take out, and I've got the ends bags that I'll have to send it out, get it balanced, make sure the end is polished and everything. And we've drained it, and now we've started taking apart the connections to the firewall. Took the wires off, the cap. So yeah, it's a matter of getting everything disconnected and tagged. A lot of these wiring harness things from the firewall, etc., I'm gonna get new. As far as the extensions, as I come to find out from a Mustang buddy of mine, to get those fender extensions off, it's easier if the fender is off. So good to know. So I'll be working on getting this air conditioning condenser unit out, and then of course the radiator and the fan and pulleys and everything else, and get her ready to pull the engine and transmission. A lot left to go, but you know, I just want to document everything that's going on, and you know, I'll provide any useful tips like I just did about the fender extensions, the wiring. Interesting thing, can't seem to get, I'm gonna get my hand in the way here. On these turn signal plates, the bolts were rusted out, but it doesn't seem like you can disconnect the harness. It's almost like it's one piece. Now I know you can get to the bulb from the front, but you would think this would twist out or disconnect. I don't know if that's factory goop or somebody put it on there, but yeah, they were not coming off, so we just took them off this way. And as you can see, I'm saving some of the old parts, regardless if I use them or not. And got extra room now. Oh yeah, and the hood latch brace. This was really easy to take off. Okay, had some bolts up top, one bolt on the bottom, and it's all one piece. And actually, this is in good shape, so it'll just need to be cleaned and painted, and we'll be all set. All right, that's the updates for now, and I will keep going. I just wanted to point out that on the bottom there's two transmission cooling lines that go into the radiator, and you always want to be sure that to break those loose, you put a 1/2-inch wrench on here to hold it in place, and this is 5/8, okay? But use a line wrench on that, which has the it's like a little crow's foot kind of thing. Here's the 5/8, And that would go on there. You hold the 1/2 inch so that this is steady, and then you break it loose. And the same thing for this one here, which I've already done, because once they're broken loose, and by the way, I had sprayed them, yes, then you can turn them very easily with a normal, hard to do this, hold the phone and do this, but then you'll see you can turn it, you can almost turn it by hand at that point, you know, and to get these off. Now I'll be using new ones on the transmission, but I just wanted to point out, you know, there's some key things. You want to do it the right way. Not that I'm planning on using this radiator, not that I'm planning on using those lines, but that doesn't mean that you won't be reusing the lines. Let's say you're not taking your transmission out and you're just changing your radiator. Very important, because if you screw this up, or if you just try to hack down on this 5/8 thing, you'll start backing out the part that goes into the radiator, and you don't want to do that. So, okay. Okay, so now with the condenser or the chiller and the radiator and all of that out, got a lot more room to work. Get the fan out and the pulleys and start disconnecting, and a lot closer to being able to get the engine. Because I was not necessarily precise in showing how to do things, just said, oh, I did some stuff. Just wanted to back up a minute and explain some steps. For example, let's take a look at the transmission kickdown cable. Now that was, it's not a cable, it's a rod. It goes on here, and there's a little C-clip that holds it in place. And you remove the C-clip, and that comes off. This is the throttle cable, and I have it taped up for a reason, but the ball end here goes over, goes over there, and then there's a little clip on here that you fold over. To get it out of the knuckle here, because it's in here, there's a plastic part in the front and a bigger piece in the back. You just squeeze it together and it'll slip right out the back and you get it out of the way. So I wanted to explain that. As far as taking the drive shaft out, there's a million videos that show you how to just unbolt the 4 bolts, push it forward, and get it down. No big deal. Haven't really taken anything else off yet, except the pump for the power steering, which removed the back feed line. We actually cut the lower line because I'm not planning on reusing any of those. So the pump is over here, still in the, still attached to the bracket. I'll get it off the bracket, and I'll also pull the pulley so I can clean it all up and reuse it. You need a pulley puller for these to get them off. I don't think you're going to do it with tools. So yeah, so what are my next steps? Again, continuing to disconnect and tag. We got the exhaust bolts on that side taken out. I can pull that out. I have to do this side. Had to hit them with some Croyle. Again, a lot of disconnecting and different things. Get the air conditioning pump off, and I'll show you more details in the future as far as how to do these things. Okay, thanks. All right, we are just about ready to pull the engine out. Everything's disconnected. With the exception of underneath, I have to disconnect the transmission crossbar support, and I'll put a jack under the transmission, but we are all ready to go. What a nightmare. But it's going to look completely different once everything's stripped out of it and cleaned up. So on to the next, which will be the pull. Okay, so I used a, let's get a good view here. Under the pan, I used a floor jack to take the pressure off the center brace for the transmission. So at that point, and then I also used a jack stand, so I was able to get the nuts loose and get the cross member out. So, and now what's supporting is the jack stand in the back, and when I lift this out, that'll just fall out of the way. I know it's kind of hard to see. This is where the bolts were for the tranny support bracket, and then you can see the bolts that go down that attach it to the bracket. So so that's done. Let me get out of here. The motor mount bolts, I don't know if you can see this. There it is on both sides. So just pop them off. They unscrew really easy and then just slide out. And now we are set. Everything's disconnected to lift this out all as one piece, engine and transmission. So the only final piece of this will be when I show that it's taken out, and we'll be done with part one. Thought I'd get a little video of this, popping it out myself. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't pull it out, and that was because the shift lever was still connected. It just wouldn't pull forward. But now she's coming out. All right, she's out. Temporarily resting on a stand. Yeah, I'll have to get her lying better, get the transmission off, but she's out. Did it myself. Oh man, got a lot of work to do. All right, there we are. End of part one.